From Manila to the globe, this is World Newsfeed, bringing you the biggest stories shaping our times. Good morning, I'm Raine Musñgi. Let's dive into the headlines making an impact across the world. We begin in Peru, where protesters clashed with riot police on the first day of the APEC summit in Lima. Violence erupted when demonstrators tried to force their way into the APEC venue. Peruvians are denouncing what they call the looting of the country's natural resources. They also want their government to step down.
Foreign investment can come as long as they leave progress and benefits for the Peruvian people. Because this country is killing us with transnational mining companies and polluting our rivers and burning our jungle. I don't think any country would agree with that.
At the National Palace, Peruvian President Dina Boluarte proceeded with bilateral meetings with some world leaders who have arrived for the summit. Chinese President Xi Jinping now in Peru for the APEC summit. Xi is also on a state visit upon the invitation of his Peruvian counterpart Dina Boluarte. Xi is opening a Chinese-built megaport near Lima. He and Boluarte are also signing an updated free trade agreement that would boost commerce between the two countries by at least 50%. From Peru, the Chinese leader heads to Brazil next for the November 17th to 20th G20 summit. Well, U.S. President Joe Biden also in Peru for the APEC summit. He's also meeting his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping for likely the last time as president before Donald Trump takes over the White House. Meetings with Peru's president and other world leaders have also been scheduled for Biden. On to Trump 2.0 as the president-elect names Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to lead America's top health agency. Kennedy, an environmental activist who has spread misinformation on vaccines, ran for president in this year's election as an independent, but dropped out in August. He endorsed Trump in exchange for a role in the Republicans' administration.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he came in. And he's going to help make America healthy again. And now he's a great guy, and he really means it. He wants to do some things, and we're going to let him go to it. I just said, but Bobby, leave the oil to me.
The Department of Health and Human Services oversees the Food and Drug Administration, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the National Institutes of Health, and the massive Medicare and Medicaid services programs, which provide health coverage for the poor, those aged 65 and older, and the disabled. Kennedy has been criticized for making false medical claims, including that vaccines are linked to autism. He was also accused of spreading misinformation about COVID-19. The U.S. Central Bank on a wait-and-see for Donald Trump's economic policies. Trump has vowed to impose stiff tariffs on imports and sweeping crackdown on immigration, both of which have the potential to reignite inflation that the Fed had brought back under control. Trump was also a regular critic of the Fed during his 2017 to 2021 term.
I think we have time to make assessments about what the net effects of policy changes will be on the economy before we react with policy. That's not to say we won't be doing quite a lot of analysis. And the analysis we do, by the way, is informed by the best research, the best thinking, the best experts, and there's a lot of research on the effect of policy changes on the economy. We'll make those assessments, but I think we'll be careful about changing policy until we have a lot more certainty. The economy is not sending any signals that we need to be in a hurry to lower rates. The strength we're currently seeing in the economy gives us the ability to approach our decisions carefully.
Still in the U.S., strengthening winds and bone-dry conditions are hampering efforts to fully contain a wildfire burning in a forested stretch along the New York-New Jersey border. The so-called Jennings Creek fire has already torched some 5,000 acres of land and has killed at least one person. The cause of the blaze, which started late last week, remains unknown so far.
It was like an inferno. A blazing inferno, scary. My neighbor over here was crying. She's about 44 years old, and, she was afraid. And a lot of people were. The people living on the shore were in dire situations. Their homes could have been ignited by, embers flying in the air and going on their roof.
Here at home, several Luzon provinces are reeling from back-to-back storms. The latest, Pepito, is nearing super typhoon category. Weather Bureau Pagasa says Pepito could bring heavy rains over eastern Visayas and southern Luzon beginning Saturday. At least 6 tropical cyclones have battered the Philippines, one after another, starting with Christine. Up next on World Newsfeed, Israel steps up its attacks against Hezbollah, launching airstrikes in Lebanon and Syria. Keep it here on BNC. Welcome back to World Newsfeed. The suicide bomber who tried to get into Brazil's Supreme Court had intended to blow up the entire building. That's according to one of the top court's judges, who described Wednesday's explosions as the worst attack since supporters of former President Jair Bolsonaro ransacked the Supreme Court last year.
A person tried to enter the Supreme Court when he was stopped by security, who realized that he had artifacts strapped to him, and then he went to the Statue of Justice and blew himself up. His plan was to try to enter and explode inside the Supreme Court.
Police identified a suicide bomber as a former city council candidate from Bolsonaro's right-wing party. Meanwhile, a Brazilian lawmaker who knew the suicide bomber believes the man had mental health issues. Congressman George Guedes says the bomber was a businessman who had recently gone through a rough separation.
He talked a lot about a separation. I said the separation kind of shook him emotionally. He has always been a very successful businessman. His family is entrepreneurial. During the time I spent in Rio do Sul, I saw he was a very beloved person in the community. So I had this image of him, and I found it strange. His behavior here, it was a bit disjointed.
On to the crisis in the Middle East as Israel presses its offensive against Iran-backed Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. Israeli airstrikes continued for a third consecutive day in Beirut's southern suburbs, targeting weapons storage facilities, military headquarters, and other infrastructure used by Hezbollah. Lebanon's health ministry says Israel's attacks have so far killed more than 3,000 people and wounded over 14,000 others. Israel launched its military operation in response to Hezbollah's rocket attacks that have killed about 100 civilians and soldiers in northern Israel. A stern warning from Israel against Syria. The Israeli army vows to attack any attempt by Damascus to bring weapons to Hezbollah. Hezbollah also has fighters based in Syria. An Israeli airstrike in Damascus killed at least 15 people. That's according to state media.
שישנן רקטות ואמצעי לחימה נוספים.
We are identifying rockets and other weapons that Hezbollah is launching at Israeli territory that were manufactured in Syria and were given to Hezbollah from Syria. We will attack every attempt to bring weapons from Syria to Hezbollah, and we will attack all infrastructure we identify in Syria whose purpose is to produce weapons for Hezbollah.
Hezbollah should abandon its weapons if it wants to end the war with Israel. That statement coming from the head of Lebanon's largest Christian party. Hezbollah critics are blaming the militants for unilaterally and unnecessarily pulling Lebanon into a new war when it began firing rockets at Israel in support of Hamas.
حد التحديات اللي عم نعيشها والأتمال الكبيرة اللي عم
What is happening now is the last resort, as if some people are waiting for Israel to have destroyed everything. And with the destruction of all of Hezbollah's infrastructure and its warehouses, a big part of Lebanon is also being destroyed. That is the price. We should not wait for this.
Hezbollah insists it is defending Lebanon from Israeli aggression and has vowed to keep fighting. Up next, FIFA unveils its new World Cup trophy designed in collaboration with Tiffany & Company. World Newsfeed will be right back. Stay with BNC. Welcome back. Heavy police presence around Stade de France as France faces Israel in a soccer match. 4,000 officers are securing the event, including elite tactical units. The security setup is meant to avoid a repeat of violent crashes between locals and Israeli soccer fans in Amsterdam last week. French President Emmanuel Macron is attending the Nations League match. Some spectators say they're disappointed the game has become a political event.
Not political, okay, the president is here and maybe he has some political reason, but today we're not here for politics. Again, football is something that unites people all over the country, all over the world, and that's important. And if you don't have, and it must be something just friendly.
Honestly, I think it's sad to see that we have such a large security presence for a simple football match. Because sport is made to unite. We've always had laughter and tears only through sport. Sport is not supposed to be conflictual.
FIFA official World Cup trophy ahead of New Year's inaugural tournament. The trophy, designed in collaboration with luxury jewelry brand Tiffany & Company, consists of gold-plated moving parts in the form of concentric circles that include iconic imagery of the sport's rich history, as well as the names of all the FIFA's 211 member associations. It also features engravings in 13 different languages. Some of the biggest European, South American, African, and Asian teams will take part in next year's competition.
The FIFA Club World Cup trophy had to be innovative, it had to be inclusive and groundbreaking, and of course, truly global, as this competition is. You've seen that this is a different trophy compared to all our other events. The aim was really to make it a symbol of a new era in global club football, to be daring and bold when it comes to its format and its design, whilst at the same time highlighting the prestige through timeless gold. As we kick off the most inclusive and merit-based club competition in the world. The best of the best.
In Malaga to represent Spain in the Davis Cup. This is widely expected to be the Spanish great's last tournament before retiring. The 22-time Grand Slam title holder signed autographs as he made his way out of the airport before joining members of the Spanish Davis Cup near the tournament grounds. Nadal and Spain opened their campaign against Netherlands on November 19th. And a busy day for Prince William in Northern Ireland, starting with a visit to a homeless center and stopping by Ulster University to talk to students studying at the Creative Industries Institute. The trip to Northern Ireland was initially meant to take place in May, but was postponed due to the UK general election. Prince William has said the past year was probably the hardest of his life, following a difficult period for Britain's royal family, in which both his father, King Charles, and his wife, Kate, were diagnosed with cancer. South Korean engineers have developed a shape-shifting wheel that can change its stiffness in real time, depending on the situation. This new tech will allow wheelchairs and other mobility devices to overcome obstacles with ease. Here's the full story.
This is not your average wheelchair. Researchers in South Korea have developed what they claim is a world first, a shape-shifting, morphing wheel. The technology shifts between rigid and soft states, offering stability on flat ground, but transforming into a flexible form when encountering obstacles. The design could allow wheelchairs to climb stairs and navigate rocky paths, with the wheels changing their stiffness in real time, without needing complex machinery or sensors. Principal researcher at the Korea Institute of Machinery and Materials, Sung Seung-hyuk, says the wheel's adaptability is inspired by the surface tension of liquid droplets.
When the force that pulls the outermost molecules of a liquid droplet inward increases, the droplet can maintain a stable circular shape. Similarly, our wheel is designed with a smart chain block on the outer edge. The greater the inward pull on this block, the more stably it maintains a round shape.
When wire spokes pull the smart chain blocks inward, the wheel becomes rigid. When loosened, it softens, allowing it to mold to uneven surfaces. The team is eyeing other uses for the technology, from personal mobility devices to industrial robots.
This modularized wheel can be attached to any mobile platform simply by replacing existing wheels. Once installed, the wheel provides variable stiffness adapting to each application. We are continuously conducting research to optimize the wheel's performance for various applications.
And that's all for now. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Raine Musñgi. Catch up with us again tomorrow when we bring you the world in 30 minutes only on World Newsfeed. Follow the Money comes next. Keep it here on BNC.